Good afternoon, everyone. I am sure many of you remember me from the initial human performance briefing we had in August. The purpose of this briefing is to follow up on the research that was conducted this year and to provide the squadron with tangible takeaways to improve flying performance. Specifically, our research team has created a pre-flight warm-up routine specific to the A-10 that is designed to optimize your in-flight mental and physical state. I am a casual lieutenant in Colonel Hayden's front office in the 23rd Fighter Group. I'm a 2020 graduate from the United States Air Force Academy and was a member of the intercollegiate tennis team from 2016 to 2020. I am preparing to depart for undergraduate pilot training and had the opportunity to perform part of my graduate research while at Moody. As the leader of this team, my role is to integrate hands-on experience in aviation with the clinical background my peers are getting in medical school. Continuing to leverage these skills as we develop in our individual careers is one big goal of Grind to Fly.
My name is Brandon Toe. I studied microbiology and cell science at the University of Florida with a minor in business administration. As operations officer, I provide the strategic guidance for the Grind to Fly initiative as well as for this project.
My name is Tyler Riley, and I graduated from the University of Florida with a degree in microbiology and cell science. I serve as the mental and physical performance specialist for the Grind to Fly initiative. Essentially, my role is to synthesize our backgrounds in aviation, exercise, and research into actionable recommendations for pilots to achieve peak performance.
This research team was handpicked because of the unique skill sets that both Tyler and Brandon bring to the team. When our team was given the opportunity for research, my team assessed both the resources available and the needs of the Air Force. Having the support from the Air Force since 2018 via the Spark Tank initiative, we viewed this opportunity to work with the A-10s as an opportunity to advance Air Combat Command's optimizing the human weapon system. Specifically, we wanted to provide a tactical level approach to meeting the mental and physical needs of professional fighter pilots, very similar to the way in which the needs of professional athletes are met. Within the time frame and constraints that we had to conduct this research, we found it most fitting to produce a pre-flight warm-up routine and general review of literature to help each of you assess your peak physical state. By applying human factors biology and performance psychology, our team hopes to eradicate mishaps, incidents, and injuries in the 23rd Fighter Group, and second, to make the 23rd Fighter Group pilots the fittest in the combat air force.
I wanted to talk more about our Grind to Fly research team's initiative. Our purpose is to implement techniques to enhance spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical abilities in the operating environment. Our mission is to provide a platform for anyone passionate about aviation, health and wellness, and peak performance to improve. And our vision is to become the most knowledgeable, capable, and professional subject matter experts in aerospace performance, orthopedics, and leadership development. We want Grind to Fly to be the team that U.S. Air Force pilots can contact in order to elevate both their mental and physical performance.
This manual is divided into two sections, the pre-flight warm-up routine and the literature review. The first half of this book describes a warm-up routine that is evidence-based, non-fatiguing, specific to close air support and combat search and rescue requirements, takes approximately 15 minutes or less to complete, and requires no additional equipment. If truly desired, it would be completely practical to complete this warm-up routine in your flight suit. The second half of this book is an applied literature review building on the principles of aerospace physiology and aviation human factors. This literature review explores A-10 specific physiological and human factors complications, discusses ways to mitigate mental and physical risk, improves pilots' overall health and wellness, discusses psychological processes to develop rituals, and addresses frequently asked questions and concerns specific to the A-10.
To give a greater understanding of the concepts considered when crafting this warm-up, the pre-flight routine serves two main purposes. First, the warm-up serves to activate the key muscles involved in the AGSM position. This includes, but is not limited to, the glutes, hamstrings, quadriceps, neck, and muscles of the abdomen and back. To do this, we will increase body temperature, increase blood circulation, and improve your neuromuscular connections. Secondly, the warm-up serves to reduce the likelihood of injury. To do this, we consider the concepts of spinal neutrality, abdominal bracing, diaphragmatic breathing, and increasing blood flow. Spine neutrality is important when sustaining G-load. When the spine is in a neutral position, the discs and vertebrae are loaded maximally to reduce likelihood of injury. Diaphragmatic breathing and abdominal bracing support this mechanism by reinforcing stability. This increase in intra-abdominal pressure contributes to increased blood flow. Bringing these concepts together, core stability and proper muscle activation serve roles in maximizing physical efficiency. Ultimately, the protocol was designed to have positive implications for proper muscle activation pattern training, spinal health, and overall warming up.
The applied literature review includes easy-to-read and understand information on present studies on aviation performance enhancement, the neck and back, anti-G straining maneuver, helmet-mounted devices, the various types of hypoxia, hands on throttle and stick, intra-abdominal pressure, nutrition and hydration, warm-up interventions and modalities, movement preparation specific to the A10, and mental performance routines for peak performance.
As we progress through the pre-flight warm-up, Tyler will elaborate on the technical and clinical aspects for each exercise, and Lieutenant Garcia will discuss the connections to aviation.
We've broken up the pre-flight routine into 7 sections, with the first 5 being the primary preparations that should be performed during every pre-flight warm-up, while the final 2 are used as you deem necessary. The breathing preparation was included to emphasize breathing and bracing technique, while the upper body preparation is a circuit that will lead to a comprehensive full body warm-up. To reiterate, the prescribed sets and repetitions were chosen to minimize fatigue, activate the muscles, and prepare for flight. We recommend performing the warm-up as close to entering the cockpit as possible, ideally within an hour prior to step. However, 2 to 3 hours prior to flight will be beneficial. Starting with the aerobic preparation, the rower is our recommended cardiovascular exercise. It is a total body movement that elicits good activation in the muscles of the back and lower body. The primary purpose of the aerobic preparation is to elevate your heart rate, increase core temperature, and activate the sympathetic nervous system to prepare the body for the following exercises. This should be performed for 5 minutes continuously. If you don't have a rower available, jogging is a sufficient substitute to elevate your heart rate and increase core temperature. Alternatively, an air bike is another recommended cardiovascular exercise that incorporates more muscle groups to increase body temperature and blood circulation. The first exercise in the core preparation is the cat-camel. This is meant to increase thoracic spine mobility and warm up the muscles of the upper back. Note that your knees should fall directly under your hips and your wrists should be directly under your shoulders. This exercise should be performed for roughly 30 seconds at a pace of 1 repetition per second. The second exercise we chose is the McGill curl-up. It was chosen to target the rectus abdominis, otherwise known as the six-pack muscle of the abdomen. It is part of the McGill Big Three, which comes from Dr. Stuart McGill, who is one of the leading spine researchers in the world. His decades of research has narrowed down a workout protocol for spinal stability and activation that provides the most bang for your buck. To initiate the movement, start in a supine position with one leg extended and your hands beneath your lumbar spine. This is done to minimize accessory muscle involvement, primarily in the hip flexors, and to maintain neutral spine. In the top position, sustain the contraction for 5 to 8 seconds before repeating for 3 to 5 repetitions and switching sides. The side plank is used to activate the obliques. Be sure that you are maintaining a straight line from your ankles through your hips, shoulders, and head. When transitioning from one side to the other, pass through a normal plank position. This transition activates the transverse abdominis, which is a large underlying muscle within the abdomen. Illustrated on the slide are 2 versions of the plank. Ideally, perform the side plank on top. However, if the side plank is too difficult, you can modify the plank to be performed by the knees. Perform for 15 seconds on each side. The last exercise in the core preparation is the bird dog, which is primarily used for the transverse abdominis, back, glutes, and shoulders. Try to maintain a straight line from your ankle to glute, core to shoulder, and shoulder to wrist. Start the position in neutral spine. with your knees directly under your hips and your wrists directly under your shoulders. Engage in proper breathing and bracing technique prior to initiating the movement. Once in the contracted position, squeeze and hold the contraction for 7 to 8 seconds. Alternate sides for a total of 5 to 10 repetitions on each side.
The core is the foundation for spinal neutrality and stamina, regardless of the load factor. Increasing intra-abdominal pressure prior to stepping to the jet ensures the first time the pilot is exposed to any form of G-forces or rapid movement is on the ground. This warm-up prepares the abdominal wall and spine for the physiological stressors experienced during aggressive combat maneuvering and allows the muscles needed to support an upright position in the cockpit a chance to warm up before stepping to the jet. By performing the core preparation, the body will be in a better physiological state to withstand in-flight physiological stressors.
Glute clam is the first exercise of the lower body preparation. It aims to isolate the glute and improve your neuromuscular connection and allow you to more effectively engage your glutes in the AGSM position. To set up, the side of your body in contact with the ground should be in a straight line from ankle to wrist. Next, find a comfortable position to rest your foot. This will vary from pilot to pilot, but the determining criteria is where you feel the greatest contraction in your glute. Next, rotate your chest towards the ground slightly and brace your body with your other arm. This is to aid in isolating that contraction. Maintain a steady pace of roughly 1 to 2 repetitions per second for 25 reps and switch sides. 1 set each side is all that should be necessary. The unilateral glute bridge aims to engage the glutes, hamstring, and core through an isometric hold. To set up a stable base for the movement, retract your shoulder blades and place against the ground, and place your arms at your sides. Prior to initiating the movement, engage in breathing and bracing techniques to stabilize the lumbar spine and core. Pushing through your heel and contracting your glute, raise your hips to the sky. Ensure that your planted knee, hips, and shoulders remain in line at the apex of the movement. We don't want to overextend and arch our backs, but we also want to reach the full contractile position at the apex. Hold the contracted position for 5 seconds and repeat for 5 to 10 repetitions in a row on each side. The final exercise in our lower body preparation is the glute bridge diamond. Your upper body will be positioned identically to the unilateral glute bridge to create a stable base. Your foot position differs in that the lateral, or outer sides of your feet will be in contact with the ground, while the inner sides of your feet are in contact with each other. Allow your knees and hips to externally rotate to where they are comfortable. Again, prior to initiating the movement, engage your core utilizing proper breathing and bracing technique. Initiate the movement by pushing your sides of your feet through the ground and contracting your glutes. Be sure to elevate your hips without overextending your back. This is to ensure that you do not place your lumbar spine in a compromised position. Hold this contracted position for 5 seconds and repeat 5 to 10 times.
Many A-10 pilots say that the most effective way of combating G-forces in the aircraft is to squeeze their glutes against the leg harness and to push their feet into the ground. The lower body preparation primes the glutes, quads, hamstrings, and hip flexors for rapid muscular contraction needed to perform an effective AGSM. Performing the lower body preparation increases the pilot's awareness of muscular fatigue and gives the pilot heightened confidence as they step to the aircraft, knowing that the first time the legs are activated is at 1 G, not at 3 or 4 Gs.
The first exercise of the neck preparation is the craniocervical flexion exercise, which focuses on the deep cervical flexors. These are essential in stabilizing the cervical spine. This and the following exercise are specifically chosen because lack of deep cervical flexor activation is associated with a higher prevalence of neck pain. We perform these exercises prior to mobility exercises to reinforce proper muscle activation patterns. Start in a supine position. It is important to keep the back of your head in contact with the floor at all times. To initiate the movement, tuck your chin towards your neck while allowing the back of your head to slide against the ground. Hold this tuck position for 3 to 5 seconds and repeat for 5 repetitions. This next exercise builds upon the previous exercise. Start in the same position, and once in the tuck position, use your hands to elevate your head off of the ground. This is done to minimize accessory muscle usage within the neck and abdomen. Once at the top of the movement, place your hands at your side and allow for your head to descend towards the ground for 5 seconds. Repeat for 5 repetitions. The next 4 exercises are geared towards mobility and moving the head through the different planes of motion. Our head moves in 4 different ways, and all movements are a combination of these basic movements. They are extension, flexion, lateral flexion, and rotation. This first exercise works on the aspects of flexion and extension. Make sure your shoulders are remaining square so you can fully focus on the range of motion of your neck. This is not meant to be painful, and you should not force any range of motion. You should attempt to go to your full range of motion that you're able to do and feel the stretch. At your maximal range of motion, pause briefly, then return to neutral spine. Repeat for 5 to 10 repetitions in each direction. The second exercise works on the lateral flexion aspect of mobility. Make sure your shoulders are staying square and that you are not rotating your shoulders to compensate for lack of range of motion. At your maximal range of motion, pause briefly, then return to neutral spine. Perform 5 to 10 repetitions on each side. This third exercise works on the rotation aspect of mobility. Make sure your shoulders are staying square and that you are not rotating your shoulders to compensate for lack of range of motion. At your maximal range of motion, pause briefly, then return to neutral spine. Perform 5 to 10 repetitions on each side. This fourth exercise is combining 2 planes of motion for the check 6 position. Keep your shoulders square. Do not rotate your shoulders to compensate for lack of range of motion. To initiate this movement, rotate your head, then extend. After pausing briefly, flex your head back to the rotated position, then return to neutral spine. It is important to only move our heads in one plane of motion at a time. Repeat for 5 to 10 repetitions on each side.
All pilots must prepare their necks for flight, each and every time. No excuses. For both heightened situational awareness and pain-free operation during flight, these exercises are designed to allow the neck to move freely while wearing helmet-mounted devices such as the Hobbit or night vision goggles. For A-10 pilots specifically, who spend a substantial amount of time looking over the targeting pod to their right, it is important to move the neck throughout the entire range of motion prior to stepping to the jet and putting on your helmet.
The AGSM preparation ties together the previous warm-ups and gets us ready for step. To set up the positioning, place your feet spaced the distance you would have inside of the cockpit. Engage in proper breathing and bracing technique before descending into the squat hold. Once in the bottom position, place your hands in the hands-on throttle and stick position. Hold this contracted position for 10 seconds. Repeat 3 to 5 times. Alternatively, if you have a resistance band available, we will perform the air squat hold with this extra element. Anchor the band at a point roughly the height of mid-thigh to waist high and step back until you feel band tension. From there, perform the air squat hold, except pull on the band while in the contracted position. The band adds accommodating resistance.
The AGSM preparation puts together the aerobic, core, and lower body preparation into an applicable movement. This exercise activates the exact muscles required to perform a strong and effective AGSM. Our team recommends performing this exercise with the resistance band as it simulates the counterweight property of the control stick. As you pull harder and increase load factor, the stick will also begin to increase its resistance. The resistance band simulates this in-flight heavy G loaded movement. It is important to practice the AGSM breathing technique at the contracted position of the movement.
The breathing preparation is focused on breathing and bracing technique. Pictured is a kettlebell to serve as a form of kinesthetic feedback. However, your hands with downward pressure can be used as a substitute. We want to emphasize diaphragmatic breathing, where the stomach expands rather than the chest. Starting with a relaxed stomach, breathe in to expand your stomach and elevate the kettlebell. Once fully expanded with air, brace your core and hold this contracted position for 5 seconds. Repeat 3 to 5 times. Alternatively, this exercise can be used to improve diaphragmatic breathing and abdominal bracing technique. To set up, lay in a prone position with your forehead resting on your hands. This helps maintain neutral spine and give you room to breathe comfortably. It is useful to have a partner present to watch for lower back rise and make sure you are breathing properly. Additionally, a partner can place their hands on your low back as a form of kinesthetic feedback to push against. Perform a 4 to 5 second inhalation, followed by a 3 to 5 second hold, and 4 to 6 second exhalation. Repeat 3 to 5 times.
Practicing diaphragmatic breathing will increase mental stamina and provide a strong abdominal bracing when under aggressive G loading. These two exercises make the neuromuscular connection for proper inhalation and exhalation, which is important for bracing against the G suit, maximal oxygen uptake, and maintaining an upright posture in the aircraft for long-duration sorties.
The upper body preparation can be performed as needed if you feel that you would like a more comprehensive warm-up to mentally prepare yourself. The first exercise in this circuit is a push-up. This is performed to increase blood flow to the upper body and get a slight pump. Perform for 10 to 20 repetitions. Immediately following the push-ups, you should perform 3 to 5 repetitions of pull-ups. Make sure you start from a dead hang and pause for a second at the top, focusing on the contractions in your lats, rear delts, biceps, and upper back. If you have a band available, you can perform resistance band pull-aparts. The starting position should be where you first feel tension in the band. The end position is where the band touches your chest. This is done to warm up the rear delts and upper back, and should aim for a slight pump. Perform 10 to 15 repetitions. If you feel like you need more of a warm-up, perform the circuit an additional time.
While not specifically designed to improve in-flight performance, our team recommends warming up the entire body from head to toe. Most athletes and pilots appreciate a total body warm-up in addition to a task-specific warm-up routine.
To summarize, the pre-flight warm-up has 5 main components, illustrated in gray, that should be performed every time prior to flight. The other 2 components are performed as needed. All exercises should be performed continuously and without rest. The key takeaways are that the pre-flight warm-up should activate and engage the primary muscles involved in the AGSM position. Improving neuromuscular connections and increasing core body temperature will help pilots engage this position more effectively. Additionally, by performing this consistently, pilots will reduce the likelihood of acute injury and chronic neck and back pain.
Our team measures success by our degree of faithfulness towards achieving a desired goal. We encourage each of you to measure your success by your degree of faithfulness towards being a safe and competent pilot, maintaining elite health and wellness, and having a continual desire to improve and raise the standard. Having measurable daily tasks for each of these 3 pillars is an excellent way to hold yourself and your teammates accountable.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation. Our team dedicated a lot of time and effort towards compiling the research and developing the warm-up routine that went into the pre-flight manual. We would appreciate it if you took some time to read through our book. If you have further questions, this You can find out more about the Grind to Fly initiative at www.grindtofly.com. The YouTube link contains a guided video demonstration for each exercise of the pre-flight warm-up routine. You can ask us more general questions at www.grindtofly.com